Hello everyone, this is Chaff Commander Coffee, back with another episode of Zero AD multiplayer commentaries. So, the last episode was pretty damn long, but it was a good game, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. This will be coming out pretty soon after, so I've already said my apologies for the lack of videos, but there you go. This game, I played against MT. I got randomed as the Carthaginians, and MT picked Sparta. Now, I wasn't expecting the Spartans to be very aggressive. I mean, when I see teams get picked for a Javelin Cavalry rush, and sort of for hyper-aggressive strategies, you generally expect the Gauls or the Britons. But MT was playing the Spartans. This is probably, I would say, the game where I've seen the most aggressive play of ever. I've never seen a player commit this hard into early aggression. And unfortunately, MT did disconnect, as the game was starting to sort of become, we hit the turning point, where I started gaining the upper hand, and then he disconnected. I don't know why. Could have just been connection issues or whatever, but it was a really intense game. It was really hard on my part. You'll see when we do the replay. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump in and start taking a look, shall we? So in the top right, we've got me playing as the Carthaginians again. And in the bottom left, sort of bottom left, we have MT playing as Sparta. So MT takes all of his starting workers and gets them all to build a storehouse and a house. He takes one hoplite off to start building that house immediately, which is interesting. He starts with 5 women and then another 1, so probably batch training in 5s. I start with 6 women. I get a storehouse up on my little pocket of wood here, and I then build my farmstead on my berries. I'm not going for wicker baskets. I am going to be showing off this kind of a live, or not live, but a replay of my build order that I've been practicing for. I don't know why my cab decided to stop working there, but whatever. I do notice this. I can't figure out why my cav just stopped gathering from the chickens. It's not in the stone, so it shouldn't have stopped, but there you go. My cav does decide to stop gathering from chickens for some reason. Yeah, getting my house up. Send another woman over to berries. I'm only going to go 20 women. There you go, my cav starts working again. This was I kind of am going to show off my build order for dealing with very heavy cavalry rushes, which is indeed what happens. Over on MT's side, we can see he's got his first 4 units, his pelots, the hoplites, and his 4 women. He now adds another woman over to this wood line. He's adding a few more as he trains them. But he's got 10 women originally gathering from berries with no farmstead. And I'm pretty sure as soon as these women are finished, he builds farms with them. So he goes really heavy into food early on in the game, which is to be expected of someone who is employing a cavalry rush strategy. So you're going to see me get to my final 20 women. This is my last woman that I'm going to build. And then I'm going to start training Mauritanian archers. Oh, well, 2 hoplites are coming out. Do I focus mostly on hoplites? I can't remember off the top of my head. I do take some of my women to come over and build this storehouse on my backwood line, simply because I don't want so many units here gathering from this wood. It's already becoming very, very sparse, and they will just run off and gather from really awkward trees in the middle of nowhere. So, there you go. Alright, I trained the 2 hoplites. 1 goes onto stone, 1 goes onto metal. Over on MT's side, we can see he's getting another 5 Spartan women, which will bring his total to 27. And then he's going to train a cavalryman. He's going to start training cavalrymen. There's the first farm going up over the berries. I imagine these 5 women will pop straight onto that. Yeah, and he's finally building a farmstead over here as well. As far as resources go, I'm on 32 population. Running a bit low on wood. but I did just get my next house up. I haven't got the wood cutting upgrade yet. I haven't got wicker baskets, obviously, like I said. I'm going to be saving on doing that. I'm going to be spending a lot of wood on training early units, so there's a good reason for this. MT on 33 population. He's got a second cavalryman out. These cavalry now start going to search for Hunt, I assume. But you'll see what they actually do. Now he's just training more and more cavalry out of his town centre. Now he has got this Hunt over here. He's got a total of 6 goats, which is 600 food. It's quite a lot of food waiting right there to be gathered. And he does see this. I think eventually he does scout this, but he doesn't actually gather from it, which I think is a big mistake. Obviously, if you're going heavy into cavalry, you should be aiming to get Hunt, so at least your cavalry have something to do, rather than just be idling around not adding to your eco. Now, he hasn't got a huge amount of wood, so he can get all these women farms. He can do that. And he's going to get up enough houses as well. And by training cavalry, obviously, he's not spending quite as much on wood. He's even got the wood cutting upgrade, which is fairly solid. And he's also got the farming upgrade. So all his early wood and such goes on to farms and upgrades. I'm up to 39 population now. Training some more spears. I can't remember exactly what these spears are going to be doing. My first 10 women that were cutting wood here have now been replaced by 5 archers. They're going to finish up this wood here and then move over to this back wood line, so far as I remember. I did train a couple extra cavalrymen because I saw there was a herd of goats over here to hunt, so I thought I'd speed up my my food gain a little bit quicker. Yeah, so I trained a couple extra hoplites to go on the stone. We're going to need that stone to build towers. So you can see we're now 5 minutes into the game. Normally I would get towers up a bit sooner, but for whatever reason I didn't. Probably because I got the woodcutting upgrade, which does cost you as much wood as it would require to get 2 towers. We can see Sparta is now massing javelin cavalry, and he's now starting to build his first barracks 5 minutes in. Pretty standard. He's got 4 farms working with his 20 women. He's got the farming upgrade. And he's got about 10, he's got 10 units cutting wood. I don't think he gets more than 20 people cutting wood the entire game. He might just have 10 for the entire game. It's pretty crazy. But he's constantly training cavalry now. He's really massing up javelin cavalry to come attack me. My cavalry is still gathering from these goats over here. And if we take a look at MT's screen, MT can see all of these goats. And instead, these cavalry just do nothing. Like, he could gather those goats and then batch train 6 cavalry to make his attack even more potent, but instead they just sit here doing nothing. So he's currently got 13 of his population not working, so he's actually only on 32 working population. And he only has 32 people working for a while, whereas my entire 50 population right now is currently all working, including my cavalry. I've also scouted some more goats here, and some deer down here. So I'm gonna pop a few more cavalry to go and work on those as soon as I'm able. I currently have 8 archers gathering from this wood line here, and we've got 2 sentry towers currently covering them. I get these guys to come up to the front. I believe I'm now going to try and build a barracks, but I think it's either a storehouse or a barracks on this forward wood line, but it is going to get denied by these cavalry that are coming in. There's currently 16 of them. So I've got 16 javelin cavalry I need to fight. I go to build a storehouse. I will get denied the storehouse, but that's fine. These men currently don't have towers which they can sit under to help protect them. And these 5 women I've taken off of the storehouse to build another farm. I popped out 3 more cavalry. And I can see that MT's now brought in his first raiding party, so we're going to just chuck some javelins at them. I'm going to lose a few of my builders as they try to retreat towards the town centre, but it's not too bad. So I lose a couple of spears, I lose one of my javelin cavalry, and he starts to pull his units back. Now I've garrisoned my women, they're going to pop back out in just a moment. I'm going to need to build a few more houses around this location just to make sure my women are safe. My guy that was mining metal I've now put onto stone. I have enough metal to get most of my upgrades that I need. The second level wood cutting is 50 and the second level farming is 150. So I have enough metal to get the upgrades that I want. I'll also want to get stone mining upgrade, and that's another 50 metal. So only about 250 metal, and you're A-okay to go. So, yep, we can see his cavalry are now coming in on the flank. He's going to try and hit my backwood line here. He brings his cavalry in, sees the sentry tower, and starts to throw javelins at it. So I'm just going to ping arrows at his javelin cavalry whilst he does this. So there's one cavalryman goes down there. He goes to engage my archers. I pull them back. He's still fighting under this tower. 3 of them go sit in the defense tower there. The rest then turn to attack my my sentry tower again. He's going to be taking a fair amount of fire from this. He does manage to get the sentry tower, but that's only 100 wood. So he only gets 100 wood worth of pickup there. I lose 1 archer and the sentry tower, so I lose about 50 food and 150 wood. So a bit awkward there. I lost the storehouse here, so I am down on, I am losing these trades right now. And there's another 6 cavalry coming in, so he's got 21 cavalry right now. And he's just going to quite happily engage my units, my miners. Another 3 archers pop out the town centre. He starts to pull his men back. And then try and hit this back wood line again. I've still got 3 archers in this tower. These guys come off this wood line and start putting some fire on him. My spearmen now engage, and he's just going to fight them. Right under the town centre, these 3 archers. And he's going to lose quite a few cavalry in this attack. So yeah, he lost. Ooh, he's going to lose a few more if he sticks around, which he is going to do to try and pick off those. Right, he picks off the spearmen. And he just goes straight in for another attack. Right now, he's got a few of his cavalrymen just riding around, trying to pick off my hunters. He will actually kill my hunters. I think I didn't realise that he was going for my hunters, and apparently they don't even notice they've got javelins being thrown into them. So yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate there. We are going to pick up a few of his cavalry. Oh no, this cavalryman upgrades just in time, so that he gets a massive damage advantage on my cavalry there. It's one of the things I don't like about when units upgrade, they just get invincibility frames. It's kind of weird. There you go. He's got 11 cavalry camping around over here. He's got another 4 over here. I've only got 1 cavalryman who's going to make it out alive. And he's going to go... Ooh, what's he going to do? Right. So I'm ready. I've got enough resources to go H2. MT's currently sitting on 50 population. You can see he's still only got 10 woodcutters here and 20 farmers. Everything, literally just training cavalry. That's all he's doing, is just constantly popping out javelin cavalry as often as he can. I'm still sitting on 50 population, so population is equal. I've got the same number of farmers as him, but I have more fighting soldiers. Because all of my population, aside from these 20 farmers, are all military units. So I now hit town phase, which gives all my units a little bit of extra hit points. I'm going to lose a few women there to those cavalry, but he hasn't pulled any of his cavalry back at any point to heal them. So they're all becoming very, very wounded right now. He's going to try and capture this house. He does actually try and capture it, but he's off by 5 loyalty. He pulls out just a little bit too early, and he loses some more cavalry and takes some more damage for it, and doesn't really pick anything up here. He's going to just keep going in on my farms, trying to bring down my food gain, but it's not that much of a problem. I'm currently now sitting on 33 archers, which, if he engages me at any point, these archers are going to cause a serious issue for him. As you can see, I've now got my 4 towers. Upon hitting age 2, I spent enough stone, which I've been gathering early on, and enough of my wood to get all of these to defense towers. Now, with these defense towers plus a market, I can hit age 3. Now, keep in mind, this build order is actually going to be a lot different when I do it as a video, because this is some hyper-aggression. Like, I have not seen players go this hard this early on. But I feel he mismicroed his cavalry quite a lot. Not giving them jobs, and, you know, just like engaging really poorly in certain locations. My women, I'm now down to 17 women. He's not going to pick up any more, which is good for me. But I am down to population 48, and MT is now on 60. So I am starting to lose the population advantage. it's simply because my resources are always under attack. But now that I have these defense towers, he is not going to be able to push either of my wood lines. He just can't do it. It's not possible. I can just garrison the defense towers, get a solid amount of damage on any of his attackers, and also protect 10 of my woodcutters at all times. So we just garrison up this tower, and then 5 of these guys go to garrison over here. The rest of them I will lose, which is very unfortunate, but I still get to save 10 of my men, which is a good result. His cavalry have nothing to do except ride around and take more damage. The alarm's going to get popped there, so all of my... and I also managed to garrison my 3 archers in the town centre who are mining as well. He does capture this house and he will knock that down, I think. Yeah, there we go. And as you can see, he's committed 9 of his hoplites as well. Like, he is committing infantry across map now that he has his barracks up. He's just batch training cavalry, training a few more javeliniers, but he is just committing everything. Like, he's got, you know, 5 woodcutters, and then now he has an extra farm. So he's got 5 woodcutters and then that 1 farm. I think he's now going to start woodcutting this line here, and he probably will build a storehouse pretty soon. But you can see he just keeps riding into my base. I'm going to get a market up in the back. I definitely need this market so I can start trading probably some stone and metal for food and wood, just so I can keep my I can get my population back up. But this is a lot of idle population he has. He's got 18 units of his 54, and they're not doing anything. They're currently just sitting inside my borders. They're not even pressurizing my economy right now. So if we take a look between me, I've got no food right now. And I've only got 19 women, so I'm going to have to pop another woman after that to go back on the farms. But, you know, resources are quite equal, except I have more stone and metal, and I'm currently in age 2. Now, if we go take a look at MT, he's still in age 1, which is a big mistake. You generally, well, you pretty much always want to hit age 2 prior to attacking your opponent, because age 2 will give you an extra 20% hit points on all your units. All your citizen soldiers will get 20% more hit points, and that helps your early raids a lot, because your cavalry will be able to trade a lot better. Now he's got 10 new woodcutters, and after these 10 woodcutters he needs to get another house up, but instead he's going for another farm with 5 women, but he can't pop them out because he's pop capped right now. What better way to you know, stop yourself from being pop capped than to you know, just sacrifice all your units on your opponent. That's a good way of doing it. This defense tower gets denied, but most of the archers will make it back to the tower. These 2 guys are just going to die, but that's kind of... You're going to lose units in raids like this, just because the javelin cavalry do so much bloody damage. They will kill your archers with, you know, 2 or 3 javelins, and they've got so many hit points, it's very hard to trade with them. But you can see he's now been pushed back off this wood line. This tower has completely denied his attack. He can't stand under it, or he'll just take too much fire. And my archers, my miners, are able to support this wood line if it ever gets attacked. They can support this wood line if it gets attacked. You know, it's all good for me. So I can see he's come in on the farmstead, and I'm just going to pull my archers off my stone and just quickly just pick off these wounded cavalrymen. The town centre is doing a fine job doing it as well. I can't lose this farmstead or else I won't be able to get upgrades, but mind you, I have both my farming upgrades now, so it's not a huge issue. I do need to get some more houses up. He comes in with pretty much all injured units. They maybe get 1 javelin off before they're killed. And then he just decides to just engage. Just gonna go all in. My women are just gonna carry on farming because they don't need to be... The alarm doesn't need to be raised. He's just going in on my archers. And I just kite him around my, then now I call the alarm when he moves his cavalry closer to my farmers. But I just kite him around my towers, and then these hoplites do nothing, really. They maybe get, like, 2 or 3 archers, like, just running around my towers in a circle. And he decides, you know what, screw these archers, let's go kill these ones. And they just garrison in some towers, and then yeah. By the time they arrive, though, they're so wounded, I just turn my archers around and just start killing them. Like, I don't even need to garrison the towers. Like, there you go, all those hoplites, and he doesn't even pick up this archer. It's like 10 hoplites there. for practically nothing.
Yes, see?
He comes in with 4 cavalry, and I'm quite happy to fight these 4 cavalry with my 10 archers plus this tower supporting them. So those cavalry will die. So we kill like 5 cavalrymen for maybe 3 archers or something. It's pretty good. And now we can see the tables have turned. Chaff Commander Coffee is on 57 pop. MT is only on 50. And what is he doing? He's training with more cavalry. He's getting ready to attack me again. Resources are pretty low. He could go age 2 now, but he's not. He's just training more units. Honestly, really needs to go age 2. It would give these guys an extra 24 hit points, which is effectively like 3 or 4 arrows. Like, it does make quite a big difference. Right now, I'm slowly just getting more. I need to get more houses up. Obviously, my economy is pretty awful. Like, we're 18 minutes into the game, and neither of us have breached like 100 population. Because the attacks are just constant up until now. And even then, as soon as he's got 10 more cavalrymen, he just commits them immediately. I got another tower up, which means I get another storehouse. I picked up the sentry upgrade quite a while ago. Because you're spending a lot more wood training units, you generally have a better, even with less farms, you generally have a pretty solid food income. So you've got that going for you. These cavalry just gonna ride around, just not much to do, I suppose. I decide, since he's being so aggressive with his cavalry moving towards my town centre all the time, might as well get a defense tower up here. A lot of my miners are actually now on metal. I believe the purpose for that would be to... there we go. MT's finally hitting age 2 at 20 minutes into the game. I decided to start getting metal, simply because I need more... I need to get my mining upgrades, for sure. And also, I'm pretty sure... yeah, Iberian Embassy. So, basically, now that I've forced my opponent, he can't really just continuously train javelin. I mean, he can just continuously train javelin cavalry if he wants. But it's not a good idea. Because they cannot do anything to these defense towers. They have 1,000 hit points and 96 pierce damage resistance. Like, you would have to throw 1,000 javelins at this thing to destroy it. Like, it's just not going to happen. Still not gathered these goats, by the way. Just pointing that out. The goats are even moving closer to his base, just, you know, encourage him, but still. 25 javelin cavalry coming out now. These archers will garrison this tower. These archers garrison that tower. These archers garrison that tower. These guys garrison the town centre or go mining or something. This Iberian, these woodcutters, now they're finished there, are going to start mining metal. I'm pretty sure I'm heading towards age 2. I need to get more metal for that. And also, where we go? Yeah, those are the mining upgrades coming in there. The Iberian Embassy, I want to start training slingers. I can use my stone up to get slingers. Iberian heavy cavalry. I want to train units. Mercenaries as well cost more metal. They change some of their cost for something like metal. So he's just throwing javelins at this defense tower now. You can see he is doing some pretty solid damage to it, but it's never going to be enough. He does get pretty close though, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this is genuinely surprising that he will just engage a defense tower with 30 odd cavalrymen and actually start knocking it down at a pretty reasonable pace. But he's taking damage on all these units, and unless he builds a temple to heal them up, which by the way he doesn't, because they're always attacking me. So 5 of these, once they engage these archers back here, I just garrison them up there. These archers are now engaged as well. So his cavalry are really just getting chopped down. You can see his cavalry numbers are just dwindling constantly. They're just taking more and more damage. I'd lose about 5 archers here. I bought some food for wood, because that's a good idea. So for the amount of archers I lost, he lost equal and or more cavalry. He's now trying to fight outside the range of my towers, but this is still in range. That cavalryman's just going to die trying to capture that storehouse. And if he ever moves on my town centre, just click the alarm and then drop down cavalry go away. Just pop into the town centre again. And they're just getting picked off as they ride by. This defense tower is now firing on them. He's got about, yep, and then as they ride by here again, just bam, bam, bam. Almost all of them dead. 29 cavalry there dead. He had about, yeah, he had about 30 cavalry. And this one's going to die as well, trying to capture that storehouse. He brings in even more units. Like, it just doesn't give a crap about eco. Just goes all in on the attack, just constantly. This is just... It's just not good on his behalf. Like, he lost so much there for really very little. I'm going to build another defense tower here. And we've just created a sort of ring of defense towers. If they ever want to hit any part of my economy, they're going to have to do that whilst also taking a crap load of arrow fire from all the towers. My embassies, I've now got the Gallic embassy, which I'm training Gallic mercenary swordsmen, and the Iberian embassy, where I'm training Iberian heavy cavalry. Now, the reason for this is, the main reason for this is, assuming that your opponent plays correctly, after raiding you with these many cavalry and seeing that it's not working because of the towers, they will build a forward expansion and then start training siege weapons. MT does not. MT just trains more and more cavalry and just keeps attacking, which is quite funny. This amuses me. This really does. He even gets all of his cavalry to sit and attack this tower, whilst taking fire from two different defense towers. They're all fully garrisoned. And this eco is completely fine. Like, I'm not losing any metal or stone. I've still got a wood line completely fine. And he's just denying one tower. And that's it. That's like defense tower, 100 wood, 100 stone, and he's going to lose so many units doing this. Like, where's... And then my archers just come off. As soon as he moves close enough to my archers, they all just turn around and start shooting arrows at him. And, yeah. Goodbye, Spartan army. That's going to have to retreat now. So once again, he's forced to retreat. Now, I do like what he does here. He builds an outpost right on my borders. I actually really like this. It's quite a good play. It gives him vision of, like, if I try to move up a wood line, here or here. But at the end of the day, like, it's just... The aggression has not worked. So as I was saying, seeing that your raiding is now becoming, you know, pointless, what should you do? Well, generally speaking, you should build a forward expansion and build siege weapons. Now, assuming your opponent is going to build siege weapons, and I'm playing against Sparta, the only siege weapon they have access to, or the only really solid siege weapon that Sparta has access to, is the battering ram. How do you destroy battering rams? Well, you get swordsmen. And what mercenaries have I trained? Mercenary sword cavalry, mercenary swordsmen. I am preparing in advance. I'm training another 10 mercenary swordsmen there. I'm going to train some more Iberian heavy cavalry as well, as soon as I can. And thankfully, these mercenaries cost less wood and more metal. So, I mean, the Gallic mercenary swordsmen cost a fair bit less food as well, but generally speaking, it's mostly, you know, wood for metal that I'm interested in. Saving all that extra wood lets me get more buildings up, which is great. My hunters managed to catch his really super injured javelin cavalry and all of his lancers, and lancers will lose in a fight against sword cavalry because the DPS is just the vast difference. Yeah, so he loses all his cavalry for nothing, and then his hoplites, which are really, really wounded. I'm not engaging hoplites with my cavalry because it's just a stupid idea. I will kill this guy though. I just moved my swordsman in, and then once his hoplites start to engage my swordsman instead, my cavalry are free to just do what they please. I noticed these two outposts. So I'm going to get my swordsman to come in there and capture them if we don't just knock them down. He destroys that one, so doesn't want me to have it. He's got one hoplite garrison in that outpost. As we can see, my population is now over 100. And you will see very shortly a ton of barracks start going up as well. The reason I don't build barracks earlier, I really should have, but again, it's just... Rewatch this replay if you don't believe me, but the aggression... The attacks are literally nigh constant. My men are constantly having to be garrisoned or fighting. And if they're not doing that, they have to gather resources, not build a barracks, because otherwise I wouldn't have any resources and I wouldn't have any men. So yeah, it's just constant attacks that really set me behind. But right now we can see Sparta has finally decided, you know what would be a good idea? Maybe doing some mining and maybe actually increasing your wood gain. Yeah, he's still building more javelin cavalry. I just cannot comprehend it. Meanwhile, I'm getting closer and closer to age 3. I'm now up to 130 population, and MT is only on 90, so I have a 40 population lead at this point. That's what I mean, the tables have now turned. My base is completely fortified. This does cost a lot of resources, don't get me wrong, this costs a lot of resources to do this. And I will explain it more in more detail when I actually do the build order, but this is a good example of it actually working in a actual game. I was stuck in age 2 for a lot longer than I normally want to be with this particular build order, but again, it's just the nigh constant aggression meant that I had to always be training units just to keep up. Because, you know, he committed like 30 hoplites so far, walking across map. That's just crazy. It's just, I mean, yeah, make your own decisions, but it was a lot. Now, what I decided to do was, since MT has been so aggressive with raiding me, I will take all my Iberian heavy cavalry, so I've got currently 18, and the next time he goes in for an attack on my base, I would engage him and try and kill as many farmers as I could, or maybe deny one of his wood lines. That's basically my thought process there. Because this wood line would actually die very, very easily to my sword cavalry, because it's mostly helots. He's got one hoplite there. So he's now moving out 9 javelin cavalry, like 9. As you can see, I'm getting a barracks up over here for this stone and this wood. I've got a barracks over here for this wood line. I've got a barracks coming up for that wood line, and I'm going to get a barracks up. There you go, another barracks here for this wood line. So basically, this is the point of the game where I'm like, right, my base is defended. This is what I mean. He disconnected at a most unfortunate moment, because this is really where the game starts swinging. I've got a great surplus of resources now. I'm on 135 population. I'm going to age 3, and I'm pretty close to being able to... I could just, for example, spend 500 food, buy some stone, or spend 500 wood, buy some stone, and bam, I can build a fortress. I can fortress this metal and this stone. I just build a fortress right there. You can't attack the front of my base. You want to attack the side of my base? I've got barracks, and I've got 5 towers here. You want to swoop around the back of my base? Tower, 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 all my miners. You want to swoop in from this side of my base? 5 towers here, another tower on the flank there. So we've got like 3 towers there, 3 towers here, a couple of barracks as well, and I've got one on my farms as well. These 2 towers can cover my farms. I've got the range upgrade, so these towers can cover the back farms as well. This tower can probably cover any attacks in on here. It's just, you cannot enter this base without getting hit by a crossfire of towers. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, the towers are just too expensive, they're not. I've built like 15 towers. 15! That's overkill. That's like complete overkill. I didn't need to do this. And also, I did make a mistake. I towered my back wood line. I'll show you what you're supposed to do in my build order when but again, this was like me practicing it in an actual multiplayer game, and I don't get many opportunities to do that. But yeah, it was really unfortunate that MT left, because it was like the crux of the game where it was turning, and I feel like the game was now in my favor. I mean, I'm like 40 population. At this point, I'm 30 population ahead of my opponent. He's got like 10 cavalry, which he's ready to attack with, and I've got 20 in the back here. As soon as I see him move into my base and starts microing his raid, I would swoop in and just start hitting his economy instead. And all of these Gallic mercenary swordsmen are all prepared to fight off any rams that Sparta decides to build against me. And I've got this really solid ranged soldier force. So I can either get some more slingers if I need them, and slingers can destroy rams as well because they've got some crush damage, which, you know, makes them the extra use there. And also I've got all these mercenary swordsmen, so I can fight rams off. Got this pretty solid ranged army, about 50 archers overall. It's not bad. It's quite slow. If your opponent decides to boom and you go for a sort of turtle build order, that's probably what I would term it as a turtle build order, then you're going to find you're far too slow, hence turtle. It's very defensive, it's very hard to crack, but it's very slow. And if your opponent is, you know, if your opponent's booming, they're going to get really fat and have like 200 population, and you're going to only have 100 or whatever, and they will just roll over you with numbers. But against someone who's raiding you, especially this heavily, you'll find that playing slow and steady will win the race. And once you've got to the point where your economy is secure, you can start churning out units with this huge surplus of resources that I now have. And then it's game, because your opponent's so far behind on economy. Like, if we look at his resources, he's got food, he's got stone and metal, but he's not age 3 yet, so he's got to spend all of that stone and metal building 4 buildings. He has to build 4 more buildings to hit age 3, and then actually get to age 3. So that's at least another, you know, 3-4 minutes, and I can just constantly train units during that time. He doesn't have much wood, and he didn't have many woodcutters. He's got like 7 over there. He's got about 20 over there. I don't think he's got any on this wood line. So he's got about 27 woodcutters, whereas I'm now currently looking at, what, 10 there. These 6 are probably going to cut there. There's another 6 over there. 12 there, another 10 here, another 10 here. I've got about 40. It's got about twice his wood income. I've got pretty much equal farming, so I can just outproduce him. Just simple as that. And as I'm booming my economy, I would assume, were I to have continued this game, after hitting age 3, train another 10 women to get me another 2 farms, possibly 15. But honestly, that's just preference. Oh dear. Sorry, I got a bit of a cough in the back of my throat. Oh. Anyway. So yeah, not a complete game, but hopefully you guys like to watch this. It was kind of like hyper-aggression. That's literally what this was. I've never seen a player commit those many units and leave their economy for 20 minutes solid. Like literally 20 minutes of the game where his economy does not get bigger. It's just the 4 farms, and then he maybe builds 1 extra farm or 2 extra farms in 20 minutes, or by the 20-minute mark. He's just got 10 woodcutters that entire time. It's crazy. Rewatch the video if you like, and take a look at the timestamp between like when I check out MT's base and what he has actually working for him. But it's literally crazy. And the fact that he didn't even gather these goats. Like, I get the feeling a player has been told Javelin Cavalry are OP and win all the time, and then they didn't, because he just completely misplayed. The raiding is supposed to give you an economical advantage. That's the point of it. In every single RTS, when you raid your opponent, it's to hurt their economy, force idle time, and then once you've gained that advantage, you capitalize on it. You don't just train more units to continue attacking them, because once your opponent's got his defenses up, your units are just going to die, because you don't have any upgrades, and you don't have a significant mass, and you don't have any siege weapons. So you now cannot attack this base with like the 9 Javelin Cavalry that he's got over here or whatever, before the end of the game. You can't do it because they will literally just die. What you've got to do is take your... like when I was on 45 population and he was on 60, he should have thought to himself, right, pull my Javelin Cavalry out, circle around my opponent's base, and just pick off woodcutters. Just pick off woodcutters where I can. I don't need to be too aggressive. And then whilst I'm doing that, boom my economy up back in my base. I have to really boom it up. And then once it's been, you know, sufficiently improved and I hit age 3, build a forward expansion, deny these resources, and then get a fortress up of your own. And then you are now in the lead, and you're solidly in the lead. Because if your opponent is still building defenses, and you've already expanded here and got siege weapons out, it's GG. They cannot fight that. But right now I'm prepared. If he rolled 5 battering rams into my base, I've got 20 swordsmen, and I've got these cavalry ready to then hit his base once he's committed units. So it would be no issue to fight off an attack with siege weapons right now. It's too late. I'm going to hit age 3 before him, and then get my own fortress up, and then it's just impossible. Like, so there you have it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game. Just a little show of the scores. Eco score ended up with a higher eco score. Military score, literally double his military score, and I even got higher exploration. How did I get higher exploration when he's the one with the cavalry advantage? I do not understand. People just do not scout. Do not get it. I built twice as many buildings as him. More houses, more storehouses, economic buildings. I actually ended up getting more barracks than him by the end of it, but most of it was literally defense towers, which is very odd. To the developers of Zero AD, if you watch this video, your buildings score sheet does not show defenses. It only shows fortresses. So I built 53 buildings, but there's definitely not 53 buildings being shown. I would recommend you change fortresses to defensive structures, or maybe just cut out outposts and put outposts under military, and then put defense towers, or I don't know, just put them somewhere. Put them in one of the slots. As far as units go, I trained 195. I lost 69. He lost 124. Trained 111 cavalry, 80 infantry, 110 workers, so about 30 women on top of that. He lost 103 of his 111 cavalry. He killed 5 women. You can see the difference between infantry to worker lost. So I lost 5 women to all of his raids. I lost my 8 hunters, and then 56 infantry. He lost 21 infantry and 103 cavalry. So that's why my military score is so much higher, because he just kept engaging me under a bunch of towers. Why do you think towers are in the game? To like force your opponent to stay away from that location unless they properly bring in siege weapons? I don't know. Food gain, he gathered more food. Not a surprise, he got more farmers than me, he got them earlier than me, but that's because he went so heavy into cavalry, so he needs that food. Got 6,000 more wood than him. Not a big surprise, he doesn't need that much wood. But I gathered so much more stone and metal. I used a lot, obviously, for upgrades and buildings, but I also hit age 3, so I was clicking up age 3 by the end of the game. So that was really needed to gather those kinds of resources to make that work. Marketplace, MT didn't exchange anything. I would have at least expected him to exchange food for other resources to, you know, really speed up his economy, which he didn't have any of. But I exchanged a bunch of food for wood and stone. I did exchange for some wood as well, but that was at a different stage of the game. Generally speaking, this was not the best example of my build order. Don't get me wrong. This was not a ideal example, but it was a good example of how it does work, even if you don't use it efficiently. And I'll show you the sort of like ideal circumstance or the ideal situation in which you do this particular build order and how well it can perform. But you know, in a actual game where you can't play 100% efficiently to your build order because of various different reasons, I still managed to hold on against hyper aggression, like real hyper aggression. And then eventually, you know, turn the tables and start getting into the point where I would then be at a serious advantage because of my opponent committing too hard to raiding, which you see quite a lot of. As you can see here, kill death ratio of 1.8 to his 0.56. Can confirm Javelin Cavalry OP in current 0 AD meta. Javelin Cavalry very OP. So yeah, as far as the charts go, just a quick look through them. Military score, I didn't even build any champions, so you know, I mean, it's probably just from my number of kills to like number of losses. Early on in the game, you can see obviously my military scores are much worse than my opponents. But once those towers start getting up, it's just a different story. Like, there's nothing they can do to them. As far as total score goes, aside from that very early advantage that my opponent had, like, at this point of the game, that point there, you know, after the first couple of raids where he got some seriously, you know, pretty solid trades on me, if he had have then taken that, you know, economic advantage and capitalized on it and actually started building his economy up, rather than just sacrificing units on my towers, he would have actually been in a position to win. But by the end of it, it was like, it literally was impossible. By the end of that game, I can probably say without a doubt there was a 90% chance I would have won that game from that point. I was population up, I had a stronger economy, and I had so many more barracks with which to build units, and I was also an entire age ahead of my opponent. Like, that was basically GG at that point. But instead he disconnected, so there you go. Doesn't bother me. Rating, at the end of the day, it doesn't really make much of a difference, so meh. You can be the best player in the world and be rating 900 just because you, I don't know, you keep playing against Borg. But there you have it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that game, and it gave you some ideas about how you might deal with some hyper aggression, or you know, what to actually expect. You will play against players who do this. Like, you'll play against players who commit this much of their economy into attacking you very early on in the game, like very early on. If you are interested in seeing my build order, I will be uploading it either tonight along with the rest of the videos that I've done, or tomorrow as soon as I can. It will be an anti-rush, or in other words, a turtle build order, and I will talk about the weaknesses of the build order as well. Because no build order is perfect, no matter what anyone else tells you. There is a counter to every strategy, and that is what makes RTSs so great. There's no like one defining thing that just wins every game. Now, I know a lot of people will say Javelin Cavalry are really strong, and I agree. I will talk about this more in my build order video, because it's more of a critique of not the state of 0 AD, but a critique of the strategy and what it counters. And obviously, if you're critiquing what the strategy counters, you've got to critique the strategy that's being employed. That makes sense. So, anyway, it's been me, Chaff Commander Coffee. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.